Picture an island where the vibe is basically aging, never heard of her. Not in the cheesy Instagram quote way, I mean statistically. The kind of place where living past 100 isn't some once-in-a-century headline. It's like, oh yeah, that's just Auntie Yumi, she still gardens every morning. And the wild part is, it's not because everybody's chugging miracle pills or injecting themselves with the newest Silicon Valley youth serum. It's the opposite. It's soup, it's tea, it's grandma food. It's a plant they keep eating because why would you stop eating the thing that keeps you feeling like you've got extra lives? Now, before we go any further, do me a favor. Hit like, subscribe, and drop a comment early so YouTube knows you're into this kind of forbidden salad lore and keeps recommending it. Seriously, if you've ever been curious about hidden health knowledge, longevity secrets, or plants that sound like they came straight out of a fantasy RPG, you're in the right place, and I want you here for the next one too. Because this story has everything: remote islands, exiles, old-school Japanese resilience, a plant that bleeds bright yellow like it's leaking sunlight, and modern scientists showing up centuries late like, wait a second, this thing does what? The plant is called Ashitaba, which translates to tomorrow's leaf. And the name isn't poetry, it's not marketing, it's literally a description. You cut a leaf today and it grows back fast, like the plant's running on some kind of biological cheat code. The sap is the giveaway. Slice it and you don't get clear water or white milk sap. You get this golden yellow ooze, almost like turmeric-colored warning tape, like your body should recognize it on sight. The kind of color that makes you feel like nature is tapping you on the forehead going, hey, pay attention. And here's where it gets interesting. People on these islands, Okinawa gets brought up a lot in longest living humans conversations, but Ashitaba is also tied to other Japanese island communities in folk tradition, have been eating this stuff for generations. Not as a trendy superfood, not as a $19 smoothie add-on, just as food. Daily, in soup, in tea, tossed into dishes, the same way you might throw spinach into yours. The difference is, the elders keep stacking birthdays like they're collecting achievements. So naturally, the modern world hears that and goes, cool story, Grandma, where's the data? Which is fair, we should be skeptical, we should want evidence, but we should also be honest about something. The modern world is weirdly selective about what it demands evidence for. We'll swallow a neon-colored energy drink that tastes like radioactive bubblegum because some influencer said it hits different, but a plant with centuries of real-world use? Suddenly, we're all wearing lab coats and demanding randomized controlled trials like we're the FDA's personal bodyguards. Still, the science angle is real enough to be worth talking about because researchers have looked at compounds in Ashitaba, especially a class called chalcones, and one specific compound often discussed is 4,4-dimethioxychalcone, sometimes shortened to DMC. In lab settings, scientists have explored how it affects cellular pathways related to autophagy. And autophagy is one of those words that sounds like a robot dinosaur, but it's actually one of the most important concepts in the longevity conversation. Autophagy is basically your body's cleanup crew. Imagine your cells are like apartments. Over time, junk piles up. Broken proteins, damaged mitochondria, little cellular oopsies that don't kill you today, but slowly turn into inflammation, dysfunction, and the kind of wear and tear that shows up as aging. Autophagy is when your body takes out the trash, recycles the broken parts, and clears space so things can run smoothly again. It's like hitting optimized storage on your phone, except it's your biology. This is why fasting gets hyped so much. People chase that fasting feeling because fasting can nudge the body toward these maintenance modes. And look, I'm not here to dunk on fasting. If it works for you and you're doing it safely, cool. But let's be real. A lot of people treat fasting like a personality. They're miserable, they're counting the minutes, they're thinking about food nonstop, and they're calling it discipline. That's not enlightenment, that's just being hungry with extra steps. So the spicy idea here, the one that makes people lean in, is, what if certain plant compounds can support similar cellular housekeeping pathways without you having to white-knuckle your way through an empty stomach? That's the dream, right? Not eat garbage and live forever, obviously. But support your body's cleanup systems with real food sounds a lot more human than turning life into a constant endurance test. Now, do I think eating one leaf magically deletes Alzheimer's, cancer, and every chronic disease? No. And you shouldn't either. Any script that says one weird trick cures everything should set off alarms in your head like a smoke detector with fresh batteries. But do I think it's suspicious that a plant with interesting compounds, a long history of use, and a cultural footprint in longevity hotspots is basically invisible in the average Western grocery store? Yeah, that part is worth side-eyeing, because here's the part that makes people mad. It's not just unknown, it's inconvenient. In the transcript story, Ashitaba is tied to islands that were historically isolated, even used for exile. Whether every dramatic detail is perfectly preserved in a neat timeline or not, the bigger pattern is extremely believable. Harsh environments force people to rely on the few things that actually grow, and those survival foods become tradition. You don't get to be picky when the wind and salt air are trying to delete your harvest. If a plant thrives on volcanic cliffs where other crops tap out, you pay attention. You pass that knowledge down. You build recipes around it. You don't need a podcast host to tell you it's nutrient-dense. You just notice you're not falling apart the same way everyone else is. And then the modern system shows up with its shiny food pyramid posters and its industrial farming and its perfectly standardized supermarket produce that looks gorgeous and tastes like wet paper. Traditional foods get squeezed out, not necessarily by a cartoon villain twirling a mustache, but by incentives, by distribution, by what scales, by what can be shipped, trademarked, processed, packaged, and marketed. This is where people whisper conspiracy, but honestly, the truth is more boring and more brutal. If something can't be monetized efficiently, it doesn't get promoted efficiently. That's not even a secret. That's Tuesday. In the US, if you want to sell something as a mainstream food ingredient, you run into a maze of rules, safety standards, regulatory pathways, paperwork, compliance, and a whole ecosystem of people who get paid to translate plants into products. Traditional staples already in the system glide through because the infrastructure exists. But something novel to the American market can get stuck. And stuck doesn't mean illegal, it means not worth the hassle unless there's a big payoff on the other side. And here's the little economic grenade. You can't really patent a plant in the way you can patent a drug. You can patent extracts, processes, formulations, sure, but the plant itself? Nature doesn't sign licensing deals. So if a company spends millions doing the heavy regulatory lifting just to popularize a fresh leaf, what happens next? Competitors show up instantly. Everybody sells the same leaf. The original company becomes the unpaid marketing department for the entire industry. That's not how corporations like to play. So what do we end up with? The classic modern compromise. You might see it as a supplement powder, maybe in capsules, maybe with vague wording, maybe sold through niche channels. But fresh leaves in the produce aisle next to cilantro and basil? That's rare. Not because it's impossible, but because it's not a guaranteed profit rocket. If Ashitaba is real, if it can be grown, if it can be used like any other leafy herb, then the story stops being, "they won't let you," and becomes, "they didn't bother to bring it to you." And that's a totally different vibe. If you're in a climate that can handle it outdoors, great. If you're not, containers exist. If you can keep basil alive on a windowsill for more than 2 weeks, you're already ahead of most people, and you can probably manage a hardy leafy plant with the right conditions. The flavor gets described as green and slightly bitter. Think celery and parsley with an attitude, which honestly is what a lot of healthy plants taste like. Anyone who tells you health food should taste like candy is trying to sell you candy with a wellness label. And let's talk about how people actually use this stuff, because that's what makes it stick. No one changes their life with a lecture. People change with habits that feel doable. Soup is doable. Tea is doable. Tossing a leaf into a stir-fry is doable. Drying leaves and mixing them into something is doable. This is why traditional cultures have the advantage. The protocol is already baked into normal life. If you decide to explore a plant like this, do it like a responsible adult. Introduce small amounts. Pay attention to how you feel. If you're pregnant, on medications, managing blood sugar issues, or dealing with a serious condition, talk to an actual medical professional who understands herbs and food interactions, not just someone who speed reads WebMD. Natural doesn't mean always harmless. It means it came from nature, and nature is not your personal babysitter. That said, the bigger lesson still stands. Because the oldest trick in the book isn't some secret lab formula, it's consistency. A boring bowl of soup eaten over decades. A daily habit that doesn't feel heroic but quietly compounds into a different life. That's what longevity really looks like most of the time. Not a dramatic transformation montage. More like, I kept doing the small thing, and it mattered. And maybe that's why the story makes people uncomfortable. Because if the answer is partly eat better food consistently, you can't romanticize your way out of it. There's no hack that replaces showing up for your body. There's no shortcut that makes you 20 again while you live on drive-through meals and stress. But you can make it easier, you can stack the deck, you can support the cleanup crew, you can learn from cultures that didn't treat food like an afterthought, and you can stop waiting for permission to care about your own biology. So here's my question for you. If you could add one simple tomorrow's leaf habit to your life, something small that you repeat until it becomes normal, what would it be? Would you actually grow a plant? Would you add bitter greens to your meals? Would you experiment with teas? Would you just stop pretending that prevention is optional? Drop your thoughts in the comments because I want to see where you're at with this. Are you intrigued, skeptical, both? Have you heard of Ashitaba before? Or is this the first time you've ever even seen the name? And if you've tried it, fresh powdered tea, tell people what it was like, because real experiences matter. And yeah, share this with a friend who thinks health means buying the newest supplement and then forgetting it in a drawer. The point isn't to worship a plant like it's a magic talisman. The point is to remember that the world is full of tools we've ignored because they don't come in glossy packaging. Tomorrow's leaf isn't just about how fast the plant grows back. It's a metaphor with teeth. You cut today, it returns tomorrow. You change a small habit today, and you meet a different version of yourself tomorrow. That's the real story. Not immortality, not fantasy, just regeneration. Cellular, cultural, personal. So if you want more of these forgotten earthworks stories, plants, foods, and old knowledge that somehow slipped through the cracks, make sure you're subscribed, hit the notification bell, and keep the comments coming. Because the knowledge only stays free if people keep spreading it, and I'm not trying to build a channel full of sleepy people nodding along. I want builders, gardeners, experimenters, the kind of people who hear you can't get that and immediately think, watch me.